Okay, it's a bit of a cloudy day here in North Carolina, but I'm going to try and bring some sunshine in. We are going to work with the color yellow today. These are Daniel Smith colors, and you can see they range from very warm to very cool yellows. Queen Gold being the only one that gets really dark. And I have to say, this is Daniel Smith's new Gambosia, and I don't like it at all. It's more of an orange to me. It's not a Gambosia at all, which is really a warm yellow. So we're going to take that off the options. And I am going to focus on this, which is my favorite yellow, which is Nickel Azo Yellow. And I'm going to bring in some lemon as well for the very light spots. And let's see what we're going to be working with today. So this is a wonderful picture, a photograph taken by a student of mine in Chicago of a window. And I love the rosiness in here in the window itself. I love the way it goes from, this is a blue-white to a yellow-white and almost green up here. So we're gonna stay away from this white here first and just work with the outside of the window first. We're going to bring in, and then we're going to work up here and over here, and this may take 2 lessons, but we're going to do it and then come in with the green, or I may just do parts of things and then let you finish it on your own. Okay, here we go. So I think this calls for a 1-inch brush to get this background on. I have drawn this pretty carefully. It's off kilter a little bit on the paper, but what the heck? And I came in afterwards and lightened the pencil lines. I think that's very important because we are working with a very light color. So usually I stay away from so much yellow. It has such a strong impact, but we're going in. So we've got some very light yellows here and here. So those are our lightest spots, and we will make that work accordingly. So this comes across in bloops. That's the technical term, blooping. But that's what's going to make, those little bloops are what's going to make that post feel like it's standing out. So right now I'm just getting an even coat of yellow on, because we'll come back and, sorry, camera's right at my head today. We'll come back and intensify that. All right, we don't want any edges to form. Here's our light yellow over here. Keeping that light. So even though yellow is such a light color, you can vary the darkness. You really need a flat brush for this because we got so many straight lines. Oh, looks like there was a little red in the paint there. I'm okay with that. Let's come back over here. Oh, looks like I've come in a little bit where I shouldn't have. Here and here. I am going to come down I am coming down into this area here. The green will cover the yellow, and the red will mix with it just fine. Let's get some down in here. So I'm working on dry paper. Trying not to make it too flat. We want it to look like a watercolor after all. We could even go in on the edges here where it's going to be green. All right, coming back with a clean, dry brush. All right, got this light area over here. I want to make sure that stays light. Pushing some of that yellow away. Okay, now I'm going to, while this is drying, oh, missed one spot down here. Okay, while this is drying, I am going to turn it around and work on this part up here, which is this part up here. Now it's clearly not white here because this is the whitest white. It's got a tint of blue on it. I'm going to use cobalt blue on this, and I'm going to run it up in here and bring the yellow in. It's going to turn green, but if you look closely at the photograph, it does turn green, which is fine because we got green down there. All right. And this has to be pretty subtle. I'm going to set that where you can see it. This edge is set. I'm going to come right in on top of the these are sticking out, so they're actually going to be bluer. All right. Got that pure yellow in there first. Starting to get a little bit of form. Got a little more intensity up here. Okay. We'll let that cook for a minute. Swing it back around. All right, I'm going to set down I think there seems to be some like loops in here. So I'm just going to pull back a little bit of color. See what happens. Always a mystery. So I'm having trouble because this brush the hairs are separating on me a little bit when I get it down to dry. All right, gonna set down the 1 inch, and I'm gonna look now at the next value, and we have some cast shadows coming in here, and we have form shadows, so those are these long shadows here. So let's put the form shadows in first, and I'm going to come in with my Nicolezo yellow. And I want to keep it warm, so I'm adding Pyrrole Orange Deep. Oh, transparent Pyrrole Orange, which is a really cool color. Let me show you that color. Woo woo! Nice orange. So anyway, that's going to darken and warm, hopefully at the same time up here. So we can let's go ahead and put the form or this long cast shadow in. And it actually goes up onto the blue. Creating a reflective shadow there. This is going to come across here. All right, and the rest is just fill in the blanks. It's a beautiful window. Okay, we have some other shadows coming down the side here. I think this one is not quite down far enough. Maybe it is. intensity. And then this comes down. And it has a shape. And then it comes down again. Okay. Down in the corner, it looks like we have the shadow of a trellis or something. That's going to be fun. Let's put that in. I'm going to put turn the paper. I'm going to put this diagonal first, which cuts across the corner. And goes down to shadow down here. This is all in shadow. All right. Bring it back. This is coming off here. Starting to have a window. Now we've got the form shadows also coming down the side of all these lines. And there's actually two values of there, but we're only going to put in one right now. We'll start over here. And it also comes down this side. This one's going to be bluer, but we'll put the blue in later. A little bit of trouble because the paper is rolling, but you'll have time to let that dry. So to get a straight line, you have to pull with your whole arm, not just your wrist, because if you do it with just your wrist, you get a curve. So I'm dragging my whole arm. All right, while that's setting up, and we're just going to let that be for a minute, I'm going to come in and work on the inside of the window. So I'm going to use some Queen Rose, because it looks kind of pinky in there to me, and so where it's very light, I'm going to use some Queen Rose some manganese, cobalt down here, but I'm not going to worry about these shadows and overlaps yet. Right now I just want to get the light color in, and to me it's Quin Rose and a very pale yellow. So sticking with my same yellow, I'm going in. Now we've got a dark green frame of window there, so I'm not worried about staying in the edges. We have some very light over here, and I'm going to come back and pull that out with my magic sponge, so I don't have to worry about that either. So right now I just want to get that window in, very light kind of yellow. And a little bit of that Quin Rose or Quin Pink. Gonna yellow it up a bit up there. Now, I've got some places here where it's greenish, but it's really more of a blue, and I don't want that to come out green. So I am going to pull away some color here, if I can. Just I do love the yellows. They do lift pretty well. All right, I want to have that long feeling too. And down here, where we're going to get really blue. All right, it looks like I missed my edge over here. Make sure that's covered. So that's nice and watery looking. Everything's still very wet. Let's go back up here while that sets up before we put in our cast shadows. We've got some of our form shadows in. Okay, so we have to start defining that now. And I'm going to come in down a little lower there. So blue recedes, so this pushes this back a bit. And I'm going to take a clean round and just bring some water up to that so it's more gradual. I don't want that to necessarily be a hard edge. All right, but it does seem to come down. Oop. That's not good. Water. More on this side. Up here, getting smaller till in the middle it's kind of even. And then starting to get wider on this side because we're looking at it head on. All right, and we've got giving a little bit more blue in there, just setting that bottom of those dentals. And then there's another one and another one, and we're going to use yellow to shadow those, just using the edge of this nice brush. We've got a very small line of blue there. Let's see if I can do this. This is a number 4, but it comes to a really good edge, so we're gonna go for it. I'm using my eye to guide where my brush goes. Okay. So while we're working with the blue, let's come in and start putting some, well, it's not dry, but it is set. I hope. And let's test the value. So here's what I've got on my brush. And it's pretty close to that, although this should be a little bit bluer. I'm gonna throw in just a hair of French Ultra. Cool it down. All right, gotta make a pretty good pile of that. Comes down farther, comes down farther. And I need to leave a hairline of reflected light right in there, which is going to be yellow. One thing about cobalt blue that I don't like is that you really can't go back and work it. It sits. I should have left a little bit in there. We'll see if we can't work that. All right, I need a less space there. Just a hair. And then we come down. Oops. So we're going to come down here. About halfway, that's good. Then I it comes over. And then it comes over. All right, let's put this cast shadow in up here. It should be lighter. And I'm going to soften those edges. We got another one down here. Big one over here. Now we've got some form shadow coming right down there. I'll get that later. And then we got another one over here. I'm using the side of my brush to kind of pick up that color. Oh, got a little cast shadow right here. Look how that pops that out. Dang. All right, so I'm going to come in with a little bit of moon glow. With the hopes that this is pretty dry. You can see our form starting to take shape. All right, I'm going to just come back in. got some formed shadows over here. Got one up here. And we have a big one coming across over here. Soften those edges. We have one coming down here. So this is our same shadow color, but slightly diluted. Remember, it doesn't have to be the window, it only has to feel like the window and the wall. All right. Taking a chance here. This is a little bit too big a brush, but all right, and this is actually our green in here. The light is hitting it differently. Even some yellow. Come on, brush. Very pale in there. Purple there. These are pretty wide shadows. That's got a little bit of the pink in it. Just a little bit. Starting to feel like a window. All right, we've got all these that can be done. That's repetition. So I'm going to leave that to you to do. And that was the yellow and moon glow that we used to make that shadow color. That is not what's important. I'm trying to keep this subtle. All right, let's turn this back around and see if we can't make some sense of this. Interesting. This one bleeds up, this one bleeds down. This one stays about the same. I could be wrong. That's how it looks to my eye right now. Just want to give these a little bit of character and bring that yellow up. All right, I'm going to come in and green this even more. There's another line up there, but we'll mess with that later. All right. Next up is putting the shadows in on the curtains, and I am not going to worry about the green yet. It's just not, sorry, it's just not important yet. So let's come in again. And this is going to take a couple layers. Fabric is tricky. So there's some highlights there, so I'm going to paint around those. Comes in to be quite another set of hanging spots there. Oop. I'm going to soften the sides. Now here we've got a rolling and a thing coming down and a thing coming up and coming down. And we got some pinky purple in there. Coming down, rolling up, coming down. So this is the reflection of the window frame, the green part, on the curtain. And here we've got a big strong, going this way and this way. All right. So I'm painting this as if the mullions weren't even in the window frame. All right, I think I need to let that be now. For a bit until it sets up and I can go in and put another layer in. All right. So you've got the idea for all the different architectural elements. Let's come down and talk about what's down here. So the green box is going to be last. Let's put the flowers in. And I'm coming back to my Pyrrole Orange, transparent orange. So this is a mass of flowers here. This isn't what the painting's really about. Let's drop some yellow in there. Just let it do its thing. We got some yellow down here. In these flowers, I don't like whatever this is. It's kind of browny, gross stuff. If it was in my garden, I'd pull it out. Could almost splatter some of that. Get that random feel. All right, I'm going to come in with olive green and perylene green. Let's get the olive in first. Because it's got the most yellow in it. Looks like I missed some. Those stems in later. The connect. I'm just wiggle waggling with my brush, but I am going to come in. I don't care if the colors bleed. Let's come in with a medium green before we come in with the dark. This is apatite green, a mineral color, which will separate and have some browns to it. All right, I'm very consciously going to come in and get some of these whites. Can't have that one up there by itself. All right. Let some of these flowers paint themselves. And some drops of water. All right, so coming in, with our very dark green. And that's going to fill in some of those whites. We'll leave some for highlights. And because we can, but so we can't go all the way up with the green because the flower box wouldn't go all the way up. So I'm just kind of setting myself a visual reference point here, how far it can go. I think that's about it. All right, flower box. I'm not going to put these lines in. They don't interest me. And we can come back in and darken even some of these darks in a little bit. Let's get this window built. So even with the green like this, the minute we put water in with it, it dilutes it somewhat. Tricky lines here. Experiment with your brushes and see which ones work best. For you to manage. Looks like that one went a little bit awry. Okay. Got some darker lines in here where there's folds in the window. Soften on one side. Lines over here. Probably work on this for hours and hours. Even the green can get darker. It's lighter on this side, so let's push it on that side. So it appears the light is casting this direction, which means it's hitting this side, and that side is in shadow. This is back, so it comes down a little bit. There we go. A bit darker. Just a little bit darker up here. Because it's back from the Okay, you have the idea. Let's see what you come up with. This comes up in a shadow here. This is ever so slim and dark. Okay. One very cool window. Have fun.